Yes, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 4:02 on the 27th of August.
Okay, and we'll do a quick flag salute then.
Yes. I can't remember who's leading the flag salute.
I'll do it. Are we ready?
Okay, thank you.
I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
The
of the United
and
States
States of America
and to the republic
and to the republic
for which it
for which
stands,
it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
liberty,
liberty and
and
justice
justice
for
for all.
all.
Thank you. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Allen.
Here.
Mrs. Baumiller.
Here.
Mr. Lynch. Mr. Maskell. Mayor Davis.
Here.
I just have one ordinance today for council. This is ordinance 2020-17C, an ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 176, streets and sidewalks, article 2, curbs and sidewalks of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey. The purpose of this ordinance is to clarify the ownership and maintenance requirements for sidewalks and to set parameters of rules and regulations for enforcement of that. Final reading.
We need to open this to the public if anybody would like to speak to this.
So if
Please raise your electronic hand.
If any member of the public would like to speak to this ordinance pertaining to streets and sidewalks, maintenance of curbs and sidewalks, you can raise your hand, electronic hand now. I'll take a quick look. Okay, I don't see any, Nancy.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve this ordinance?
Motion to approve.
I'll
Thanks,
second.
Dan.
Okay,
Thanks, Amy. Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
yes.
Resolutions listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. All items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 170 is extending the due date for third quarter 2020 taxes. 171 is approving a membership to the Beach Haven Volunteer Fire Company #1 and the New Jersey State Firemen's Association. 172 is appointing special law enforcement officers class 2. 173 approving a change order #1 final for the 2017 road reconstruction Amber Street, and this is a decrease. Resolution 174, amending resolution number 9, 2020, authorizing tax assessor to act as agent of the borough and perform various duties associated with this position. And finally, 175, a resolution strongly encouraging the right to in-person machine voting for the November 3rd, 2020 general election.
Would anybody like to take any of these off the consent for further discussion?
No.
No.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Dan.
I'll second.
Thanks, Jamie. Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
I have a bill list today in the amount of $2,424,907.42.
Anybody have any discussion about the bills?
No.
Me neither. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Okay, Nance, so we'll dive right into our topic on the 2020 capital budget discussion. We did have this discussion once before, and we did a great job of whittling down our needs and wants into a manageable list that the CFO and the council was willing to approve. Since that time, we've had 3 topics come up that we're going to discuss today. The first is the condition of the pickleball courts at Nelson Avenue. We still have $65,000 available in the budget for some improvements at that area. Frank, you're on the phone. Can you hear me?
Yes. Whoop, I got to unmute myself. Yep.
No,
I can
you're
hear you.
good. I can hear you. I can hear you. So we discussed this a little bit. What could be done to not just repaint it, but to actually grind down the existing surface and to kind of resurface what is existing? Is that a possibility?
Yes. There's different surfacing options we have, and some of them are better than others. Some of it involves just using a crack filler and a membrane to go over the cracks and then do a resurfacing and recolor coating of the courts. So that could be done. I do have Action Sports surfing surfaces that I had requested and asked them to go down and take a look at it and give us a ballpark and an estimate in order to rectify that. The gentleman told me he was going to get down there, but I haven't heard from him this week. So I'm hoping by next week to have some answers on that.
Okay, and if we were going to do that, Frank, would we be able to reorient the courts within the rink itself?
I guess I'd have to look at the width of the courts. I mean, right now I think there's 6 courts and they're configured east-west. They really should be north-south. So the question is whether we can accommodate, 2 courts side by side in 3 different sections to have them, oriented in a north-south direction, which is the preferred positioning, so you don't get the sun in your face in the morning or in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I do have a plan for the original roller rink, so I think I could do a quick concept and lay that out to see if that would work.
Okay. Nancy, what are your thoughts on the extent of the repairs, renovations that the pickleball center needs? Did I lose Nancy? Nancy, are you there?
Hearing something.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. Jamie, do you want to go ahead and speak while I try to get Nancy connected? What your thoughts are?
Yeah, overall or in?
Yeah.
So my thoughts about the adding additional funding is just where we are currently with the capital budget. We made great strides the last meeting. We brought it down to where the CFO was very comfortable with borrowing the amount of money, and I would feel more comfortable if I actually knew how much that resurfacing was. I don't know if $65,000, I don't know how much that goes. I really would need more information to see how much of an increase. But at this point right now, that's where I stand, is resurfacing. No increase in court or a total demolition.
If we were able to reorient the courts within the rink, Jamie, you'd be okay with that?
Well, that's just, yeah, I mean, that's just putting the nets in different placing and restriping. It's not, but I don't know with the width if they would be able to fit 6 courts going north-south.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be if you reorient the courts in a north-south situation, it might be a decrease in overall courts, which I'm not sure that really helps the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Just to comment real quick, if you don't mind, I think if you have $65,000, I think that'll be more than sufficient to resurface and recoat the courts. Whether we leave them the same direction or orient them a different direction, that's just a matter of striping. But I believe 65,000 will be more than enough to cover that.
Nancy, are you connected now? Dan, did you want to speak to this?
Sure. I read all the emails that have been floating around about this project, and I'm kind of the same mindset with Jamie right now as far as the budget goes. We made some cuts. For instance, I think one we're going to talk about a big loader to help us protect our homes. And I also read that it's a safety issue that people are getting hurt down there. So we have to address public safety issues first. We have to make sure people aren't hurt. Resurfacing would be great. I have no objections to that, it's the budget. And as far as the north-south, I'd like to see more from Frank, if it's possible to do it that way, or what it might take to be able to do it. Because I also read the email saying that playing east-west is tough because the majority of the play happens early in the morning and late in the afternoon, so you're staring into the sun one way or the other. So if we can figure out how to make that all work within that budget, I'm all for helping, people not get hurt or blind. So.
We're gonna have to not continue this meeting without Nancy, so we're gonna have to hang on a second.
Is she calling in, Sherry?
Sounds like she's trying.
Nancy, can you hear me?
Interesting.
Can you hear me?
Barely, Nancy. That was very weird.
I'd say it sounds like we're Star Wars.
Yeah, Tron or something. Yeah.
R2D2.
All right, Nancy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can you
Hey,
guys hear her?
Yes.
All right, Nancy, let me hear what you have to say about the pickleball project right now.
Okay.
What would you like to see happen with this pickleball project, Nancy?
Okay. Personally, I would like to actually put some money into the pickleball project. I would like to see if we can resurface those courts and perhaps add a little bit more to them if we're going. I mean, we have to get some ideas of the cost. But if we're going to do this, I think we should do it right and for one time. I mean, this is probably the most popular sport right now in Beach Haven or in the basically in the U.S. It's just incredible. There's so many people down there that want to play pickleball. It's obvious also that the majority of them are residents of Beach Haven. Some ideas about making sure that the choice of sports is we could allow. What's happening now is people are going down there. They're registering ahead of. They're going down and they can only handle so many people at each session, which has really reduced the amount of traffic down there. I would like to be able to give the Beach Haven residents the first crack at getting on the courts in the first 5 or 10 minutes of the sign-up period. So the majority of the people playing are Beach Haven residents. We have so much. It's so popular that I mean, it's really heartbreaking to not have people be able to. Would like to see. I understand that a lot of the kids from school go down to that park after school. I thought maybe what we could do is try to organize some pickleball lessons for kids to see how they look like it and see if we can utilize those courts for after-school activities. We could perhaps do that in September. We're not going to get started on this project if it does occur for a while. Basically, can you hear me? Am I just talking? talking to myself?
No, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Okay, great. I really do think that we really need to make these courts better. And I think to do that, we need to sort of rip courts out. I mean, Frank would know better. We have to investigate that. If possible, realign the courts so they're going north to south instead of east to west. If there's any way we can increase that space without taking up much of the field, which I think we could do. I think we could increase the space going to the east as well as to the west, so that we could add a couple more courts down there, which would give us 8. I think that would greatly be appreciated, and it's just such an important activity right now for everybody in this town. Well, not everybody, but for a large majority of people that want to get involved in this sport. It's so good for people to be out there doing that. It's encouraging to see people getting to know each other and to play with each other. Most of these people are taxpayers. There's ways, as I mentioned, to get the people on there first and get the kids using the courts. So I really think we should investigate what it would cost to really do this right and to expand the size of the courts.
Mhm.
I think it's important for the community as a whole, for the camaraderie, and also we've done a great job with the tennis courts. But when you play tennis, you only have 4 people out there playing for an hour to an hour and a half, whereas with pickleball, you have a huge number of people. So it's a much more a sport where people do a lot more interacting, and it also can play fairly late into the fall and early in the spring. That's what I'd like to see happen. Again, we have about $60,000 in the budget. I don't know how much more it would take, but I think it's worth looking into. That's my feeling.
So it sounds to me like we really need Frank to do a little work right now to tell us what can be done for the amount that we have. And then if he's thinking that we're going to need more, how much more? Like what are our options? So Frank, I think this really isn't a discussion, something that we're going to decide today. I think we need to see some numbers and do a little homework on this. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I think we need to do a lot more homework. I know there's a lot of people that would like to speak today to support pickleball. I personally am very much in favor of moving ahead and having safe and active pickleball courts next summer. I think we can keep the traffic down by doing what we're doing this year, and I think we can make it easier, make sure that the beach haven people get first choice to play, and I kids using the courts. I think it's great.
Frank,
a great opportunity for them.
Okay, Frank, you heard all that, right? Which you agree?
Yes, I mean, I'm gonna, I actually texted Action Sports when I was on the phone when we were on here. They apparently did get down there, and they're gonna get me some kind of cost by tomorrow to resurface the courts and restripe them. And I was just looking at an aerial photo, and we can probably orient them north-south, but we're not gonna pick up any more courts than what we currently have on the existing surface. So if we turn each two courts, you would get the 6 courts oriented north-south. But based on the space, I don't think you're going to squeeze another court in there.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Well, I mean, maybe we can't do that for this year, but it might be possible. I mean, are we going to take those walls down that go around those courts? If we're going to be doing this, if we're taking those walls down, it might be easier to put, and even if it wasn't for this year, for next year, but, you know, for the following years, to be able to perhaps move the courts a little bit to one, either the east or the west, so that in the future we could add a couple more courts, so we could have 3 courts in a line going from east north to south.
Well, I'll certainly take a look at that.
If that's a possibility.
Okay, go ahead, Frank.
And I'll take a look at that to see how much wider the court would have to be expanded to fit 3 sets of 3, to see how much more asphalt we would need to accommodate that.
I mean, if we could think about it ahead of time, so that if we decided to do it down the road, even if we didn't do it for next year, it would be less expensive because we were sort of set up to, would be in a long-range plan.
And that's fine.
It isn't going to die out in the next few years. I guarantee you that.
Right.
All right, I don't know what happened to Dan. I think we lost Dan. Oh, here he comes. All right, Nancy, did you want to continue with this topic of discussion, or did you want to see if there's any raised hands for this topic before we move on?
I think I'd like to, see if there's any raised hands, and I would hope that we don't have to, we don't have enough information to really make it, we're not making a decision today, but, I don't really want to get into a huge, long discussion, particularly in the situation where I'm in where I can't really see who's talking.
Okay, well, I'll help you out, okay? Right now, we're going to hear from Margie McGlynn. I'm going to unmute her.
Okay.
Margie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. And hello, Nancy. And glad to hear that. Can you hear me okay? Yes, can you hear me okay?
State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Margie McGlynn at 122 Fairview Avenue in Beach Haven. And I've been in Beach Haven, as Nancy knows, for over 30 years, a long time Beach Haven family. And well, I guess there's many McGlynn families, but I married into one. But anyway, I just strongly encourage what Nancy is saying. I was introduced to pickleball at the Nelson Courts about 5 years ago, and it's really changed my experience in Beach Haven. I used to feel like, yeah, I could come down and I could play some tennis, and I still do. But Beach Haven has really become my life here, and I've made so many friends with people in Beach Haven. I had been here about 25 years before then. I've met more people in the 5 years I've played at Nelson than I did the prior 25. And it's just been terrific, the relationships that have been formed. And I'm also a member of Little Egg Harbor Yacht Club, as my husband is a sailor. And we were able to start a program there. And we have actually, we originally painted lines to have 4 pickleball courts. We had so much usage last year where we had about 100 members playing. We now painted lines on 8 courts. We have 8 courts available for our members. We had 140 people playing this year, so 40% more than last year. And we monitor usage of the courts for pickleball versus tennis because we want to get the right balance. We want to make sure we're meeting needs of all members. And tennis courts were used the same amount this year as last year. Pickleball court usage went up so that it's 38% more than tennis. And so it's just been terrific to see all the new players coming out. But many of us, I'd say there's at least 30 of us that are members of the yacht club that still play at Nelson, and we're all Beach Haven residents. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One, all the many friendships that we formed with other players over the years. Second, our courts are tied up with our junior tennis program pretty much, all day long. We can't get our courts at 8:30 because we prioritize tennis at 8:30. So on really hot days, we want to be down at Nelson at 8 a.m. And also there's some really strong players at Nelson. So those of us that are a little bit more competitive get really good games there. So I strongly encourage doing this right. It can be a great facility. If you can get 9 courts, get them oriented the right way, you'll find it has huge benefits for the community. And I know many players rent houses in Beach Haven if they don't have one permanently, just to be able to play with us. So I just strongly encourage the path you're going down. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Margie. Okay, now I'm going to...
Sherry,
yeah.
Before we go forward, I know that a lot of people are going to come and talk about how much pickleball is for the community, but I just want to clarify with the public at hand that this is a capital budget. And so this is not money that we have tucked away that's in our operating budget, but this is money that, we're deciding to borrow. So we just have to consider, take all of this in consideration. And I know that pickleball people, tennis people are very passionate about their sport. My daughter's passionate about her sport. But we just have to remember that this isn't money that we're just taking and deciding on what we're going to spend with it. This is money that we are appropriating to borrow that we will have to pay back. So I just want to clarify that moving forward like I did last year. Thanks.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, I'm going to go to Wayne Folkart. I'm going to unmute you. Let me know when you can hear me. Got you unmute. I'm working on unmuting you. Hold on.
Is that okay? Can you hear me now,
Great.
Sherry? Thank
Yes,
you.
state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Wayne Folkart. I live here in Beach Haven at 410 Holyoke. And I just want to start by thanking the council and thanking you for your foresight. You know, today at Nelson Avenue, there are 180 Beach Haven residents that play there. There are nearly 700 people on a Facebook group that talk about Nelson Avenue all the time. The place is packed to capacity 7 days a week. So I think the foresight of this group someday in the past is really what's given us such an excellent center today, and we should all be proud of that. But today the courts have deteriorated and are in need of resurfacing, and so I'm grateful to hear that we are seriously considering making this capital investment. Over the years, the courts have settled over time. They have bowed a bit. There are dips in the courts. We've had a handful of injuries at the courts this year. A friend of mine who lives down the road here on Iroquois, his name is Scott Schenker. He took a fall this year. He broke an ankle. Scott's been through 2 surgeries, reattaching tendons to his foot. You know, another one of a friend of mine, Kenny Gorman, also recently tripped and fell on the courts. He broke his left wrist. He bruised some ribs. He banged up his face. You know, both of these are athletic individuals. They're both under age of 50. You know, it's a pity to sort of see them take a spill while playing the sport. I think the courts serve an immense public good. I think it's been very good for Beach Haven residents. I'm highly encouraged to hear the town council considering making this investment in the capital budget. I know I've got skin in the game, so I think it's a good investment, but the good of the town, the number of people that play, I think underscore the reason why this makes sense to go out and borrow. And I thank the council for your time.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay. Dan Roberts. Work on unmuting you. All right, Dan, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Dan Roberts, 2209 South Bay Ave, Beach Haven. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to thank the council for taking the opportunity to address this issue today. There's just a couple of points I'd like to respond to. Councilman Baumiller makes reference to the expenditure that'll need to be made. I think that what the council needs to focus on here going forward is what a benefit a pickleball complex will bring to our community. Just to put it in perspective, a friend of mine is running a tournament up in Clark next month. He estimates that he will gross anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000 over the course of a weekend that he will be bringing into the community. If we had a similar complex, which we are capable of doing, we, and when I say we, I'm talking about Beach Haven and filling the Beach Haven Treasury coffers with money, we could also do things like that. We could have tournaments, we could have leagues, we can do all those kinds of things. We look at other places on the Jersey Shore. Stone Harbor has 10 courts. Ocean City has 12. Ventnor has 8. Margate has 8. We have the space. We have the capability. We can do better. And I think with respect to Councilman Baumiller, patchwork is not the answer at this point. I think we need to take this opportunity to move forward, and in moving forward, look toward putting in a dedicated complex on Nelson Avenue. I don't know if Frank is still on the line. I don't think that if we reposition the courts in their current state, that we'll be able to fit more than 4 courts in that area. I don't think that it's going to fit, not without taking the walls down. And I think it should also be noted that we could take those walls down all around on both sides. We have land going toward Bay Avenue that is unused. There is an easement there that we could use that land. And we have land going toward the park that the kids play in. So there's plenty of space to have 10 or 12 courts. Now, I know that you would have to investigate what the expenditure is. But just to give council an idea of how many people play and how popular it is, the 8 o'clock session for tomorrow was filled up within 46 seconds. That's how quickly it filled up today. And that's normal. It usually fills up within 1 to 2 minutes, followed almost immediately by the fact that the 10 o'clock session is filled up as well. If we had more courts, we could have more players. The economic benefit to bringing more organized pickleball to Beach Haven would be huge. I have 2 renters alone that rent my house every summer solely for the purpose of playing pickleball because of my proximity to the pickleball courts. And bringing those people in, and if you think about the boom that you could have bringing a tournament into town in May or in September when it's off season, that would fill the hotels, that would fill the restaurants, that would fill everything in town and be a benefit not only to the pickleball community, but to the Beach Haven community as a whole. And I think we need to look forward in the sense of the opportunity that we have here to make this a true pickleball complex, because we heard Wayne talk a few minutes ago about the condition of the courts. But I think the focus really needs to be going forward on making new courts, better courts, and making it an opportunity, not only, like I said, for everyone, not only Beach Haven residents, but if you think about the fact that we have, I think it's 40 people sign up every day for every session. It could be 36, I'm not sure of the number, but it could be so many more. And that those people are gonna come into town, they're gonna spend their money here, they're gonna patronize local businesses. And I think going forward, I think that's what we need to look at. You know, I would encourage the council to look at this very carefully, not jump into anything in terms of, it's like, well, we can patch it up. And, you know, and as it was mentioned before, I don't know how much it would cost to patch the court, but I think in light of the fact that we need new courts, just throwing a Band-Aid on it at this point really wouldn't be beneficial. I think we need to look at what we can really do to make this, and this sound, I sound like I'm a travel agent, but to make it a pickleball destination almost, because we have the capability to do that, and we have the opportunity to do that. And we can do it in conjunction with looking at, you know, the concerns of the neighbors, the concerns of the neighborhood.
Whoop, you lost him. Dan, I lost your sound there. Hold on. Sorry, buddy. Give it a second.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
All right, I didn't touch anything.
All right.
Usually people don't want to hear what I have to say, so I figured it might have been on purpose. But I just think going forward, I don't know where I got cut off, but I think we can make this a pickleball destination. I think that we could do things in this community to bring business, and I think where I got cut off was, you know, we can work with the people in the neighborhood regarding their concerns. We can do wonderful things, I think, with the land that we have, and the field in between the pickleball courts and the playground area right now, as it's situated, is really not good for anything. It needs, I mean, I know there's soccer nets there, but you can't really run on it. You can't play on it. You can't do anything on it. It's really a sandy mess. And we could utilize that land, and we could have pickleball courts. And I think going forward, and like I said, I have 2 renters now that come, and people are coming from all over just to play. And I think more people can come, and I just think that would be better for the community. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you, Dan. Vanessa Hendry.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry. I can't. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. State your address for the record.
I'm sorry. My video's not working. I don't know why. It's Vanessa Hendry, 210 3rd Street, Beach Haven. Me or my family have been living in this property since 1955. I'm a long-term Beach Haven resident here. I really don't have much more to add, but I do support everything that Dan has said. That's what I was going to say too about the economics.
Yeah, we don't want to repeat things that we've already heard.
Exactly. So I don't want to repeat anything else, but I definitely agree with the last 3 people, what they've said. So my vote is to go forward to trying to get more courts. But I will say, based on what Nancy, the mayor, said, if we do not get more courts, I do feel that Beach Haven residents should have first dibs. I mean, some of us are getting blocked out from non-residents. So if we don't get more courts, I think then we have to look at something like that. I don't really want to do that at all. I'd rather see us have more courts and still be the community that we are, because I love playing with my non-resident people. But I do think that something has to be, I think we have to be a little bit more favored than a non-resident if we don't get more. That's really all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Carol Gallant. Let me take a second for me to unmute you here. Carol, if you can hear me, I want to try to unmute you if you're able to do it yourself.
There.
There you go. I can hear you. State your address for the record.
217 East 11th Street, Beach Haven.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we've been here for 17 years. We have mostly been working with rehabbing and restoring after Sandy, and we have rental units. So mostly our family has just been renting until last summer when I found myself guided by a friend to Nelson Avenue to play pickleball. So I'm not an athlete. I never played a sport in my life, but the folks there kind of took me in and they taught me how to play. And half the time I didn't see the ball or hit the ball, but they stayed with me. And as a beginner, it was a good place to come. And I know there's some other things being said, but it's not true. That's how I felt. So I played over the winter and I hurt my back, multiple herniated discs. And my spine doc said that I also had pretty bad arthritis and scoliosis. So he said, whatever you do, don't have surgery. Go out and play pickleball every day to strengthen your muscles. So that's what I have been doing. I finished my therapy and I went right back to Nelson Avenue. So I have two sons and my husband, and my sons have just started playing pickleball here at Nelson. They come down on the weekends. They're 28 and 36. And so what can I tell you? It's like on the weekends, how great is that a 70-year-old mom could play pickleball with her two kids? I would love to have a new surface because I don't want to fall, and I'm nervous when I see other people fall, so that would be good. And I would love to see more courts earlier in the morning because I tend to get overheated. But I keep a check on that with plenty of water and check my heart rate. But I appreciate what you're doing here and opening this up for discussion and possibility. And I hope all things work out well for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. All right, I have someone here by the name of G6. If you could state your real name for the record and your address, that would be helpful. Are you there? G6. No. I'm going to go to the next person. Aliki. I'm not sure how to pronounce you. There you are. Help me unmute you. Trying to unmute you.
Sherry, can you hear me?
Who is this?
Hi. Bonnie.
Okay, Aliki, is that you?
That's me. Hi.
Okay, you're up next, Aliki. So state your name and address, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, Aliki Caceres, 512 North Beach Avenue, Beach Haven.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I have two views to this. First, as an employee of the Borough of Beach Haven, I took a part-time job at the pickleball courts. So I just want to reiterate all the complaints that I heard from all the players, season pass holders, weekly pass holders, and daily pass holders. How hard, how frustrating it was to register for the 2 shifts because it would fill up so fast. And only because there are not enough courts to play. So I know they already said that. I'm just reiterating that there's not enough courts to play at this time. And two, second, as a Beach Haven resident and a pickleball player myself, pickleball being the fastest growing sport in the country, I can't understand why Beach Haven has not done anything about the courts sooner. It's the most desirable vacation spot on LBI. And if you go down the whole entire island, Beach Haven has the worst conditions for playing pickleball. So I don't know why year after year we've been denied. We've been approaching you for the past 3 years, about 3 years now. I do have one question. Last year, the township did allocate money for pickleball courts. So when I left here last fall, I thought when I came down this spring, I was going to see new courts, and I was disappointed when nothing was done. So I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but is there a reason why nothing was ever done? And I feel like we're going to come to you year after year and still nothing's going to be done.
Well, we didn't have a consensus of council to take up more of the open space. We did appropriate funds to resurface the existing courts, but the consensus of council is that they didn't want to add additional courts to take up more of the open field. So they just left the funds appropriated, and now we're discussing again what the next steps will be in that facility.
Okay, so do you think we'll be able to move forward this winter and have courts to play on?
I don't know if you were listening to the meeting earlier, but we're discussing with the borough engineer that we need to do some more fact finding. We need to find out how much improvement can be done for the existing funds that we already have appropriated. And then if we feel like we want it, that it needs more, how much it's going to cost.
Okay. Do more. I don't want to be disrespectful, but last year we kept going to the meetings and discussing this over and over. Should those figures already be in your memos?
No, never discussed completely removing the field, the hockey rink there and starting over in that location. We discussed building new courts at Walsh Field. We discussed resurfacing Nelson Avenue, but a complete renovation of the Nelson Avenue courts has not really been discussed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
This isn't the end of the discussion, and the decision won't be made today. Thank you, Aliki. All right, G6, who is that? Is that Bonnie?
Yes, I'm doing this on my phone, so this is the first time I've done it on my phone.
Okay, this is Bonnie Lenhart. State your address, please, for the record.
115 Fairview Avenue. I pretty much agree with everything everybody else has said. The only thing I want to point out that Jamie said, you know, you'll have to go out and borrow money. But if you're going to borrow money, there could never be a better time to borrow it. Money is the cheapest it's ever been, and it'll probably continue to be cheap for a while. So I think that should be a thought process in going forward, that if you put it off, the cost of money may go up. So that's my only point.
Okay, Bonnie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Joseph Negri?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. State your address for the record.
Hi. Joseph Negri, 232 Chatsworth Avenue in Beach Haven.
Okay, go ahead.
13-year resident of Beach Haven. I really have nothing new else to add other than what's already been stated. I agree totally with what Dan said on the economic benefits of this. I think that could probably use to offset some of the cost of it. I agree with the speakers that said that there were issues with getting playing time there and the demand for the courts. And I think that if we do this, this is something that needs to be done right, not put a Band-Aid on what's there, and totally support this initiative.
All right. Anything else, Joe? Thanks.
No,
thank you. Lynn Van Name.
Lynn's muted.
I'm working on it. Lynn, if you can unmute yourself, go ahead. Trying.
I hit unmute.
There you go. Go ahead. State your address.
Linda Van Name, 815 North Atlantic Avenue, Beach Haven.
Thank you.
A resident for 68 years. I won't repeat what has been said 4. So I'm just going to ask if my husband could read my closing thoughts. But I have done all the measurements for Frank, and I can tell him how many feet have to be added.
Frank, she did your work for you.
All right.
Okay.
Email it over.
This is my husband, David. He's going to read just a summary statement because I usually email the council because I don't speak too well.
All right. Hi, David.
Hi, everyone. I'm David Mike, and I guess to be honest, I should tell everyone that's listening, I run the pickleball courts at Nelson Avenue. Lynn wrote some notes for me. Plain and simple, we do need more courts at Nelson Avenue, and it's imperative that the existing courts either be torn up and redone or something major be done with those courts. We have had injuries down there this year. It's getting beyond the point of a real safety issue now. As Dan or somebody else said previously, we fill up our reserve court time in under 2 minutes, and we do that every single day for both 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So the demand is there in town for additional courts, and there are many ways to look to put new courts on. I know the pickleball community is very much volunteered to work with Frank, to work with you, to work with anybody as far as, looking at what can be done, realigning things. We're more than willing to help anyone, come up with the best situation that fits our needs as pickleball players, but fits the town's needs also. And I think you have to recognize, I hope everyone does, Beach Haven does have a wonderful pickleball program. Those courts provide entertainment and exercise for families in town, for senior citizens in town, for renters that come to town, and most of all for the residents in town. So thanks for listening to my wife's comments. Thanks for listening to me. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Fuzzy. Rhea Flynn.
Hello, could you hear me?
Yes, Rhea, state your address for the record.
1610 South Bay Avenue, Beach Haven. I'm a full-time resident, and I've been on the island since 1982.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't want to reiterate either what's been said, but I thank the council for listening to us again. But I am a little skeptical since we've been promised things in the years past, as Aliki was. I do think that we have a phenomenal program here with the great camaraderie and collegial atmosphere. We are welcome and open to all, whether you're a resident or not. We've accepted everyone. Renters come. They can't wait to get down and play with us. My husband works reservations at the Sea Spray Hotel, and I can't tell you the number of times that people call and ask, are there pickleball courts in the area? Is there a pickleball program? And having me as a wife, he has great information for them. So it's brought a lot of people to Beach Haven. I think it is just a positive situation. The game is growing. It started out being a game of older people. We have brought in so many young people that play daily at our courts. And as the person said earlier, it's amazing that you could play a 7-year-old playing with a 25-year-old. And it's just a great experience for everyone. Harvey Cedars have added courts. They're beautiful. Beach Haven Light has added courts. They are beautiful. Long Beach Township has 3 very nice courts. The surface at Nelson is inappropriate. It's the incorrect surface. You don't play on concrete. Surfacing it will be one part of it, but we really do need more courts. We have 175 Beach Haven members, taxpayers that play, and I would really love to see the council consider adding more courts down at Nelson. It will be a benefit to the community.
Thank you, Rhea. Elizabeth Roten. Get you unmuted so we can hear you. There you go.
Hi, my husband is Doug, and I am Beth Roten. We're at 314 North Delaware, and we have been on the island since 1977. And my husband would like to speak.
Okay.
That was a good lead.
An intro.
So
name up there.
I mean, a few things resonate. I mean, I support everything everyone said. More courts, better courts, how good it is for the community, how you know, what a great experience it's been getting to know the community. So we've been here since '79, and I think that we have met and know more people within Beach Haven, residents of Beach Haven, in the last 2 years from pickleball than cumulatively over all those nearly 50 years. So as I said, fully support everything. I think the only other thing that I would say is just, you know, we're in the process empty nesting, deciding what to do with our other home in Ridgewood, and you know, we're going to sell it shortly. And you know, one of the main reasons that we're thinking that we'll move down here full time and become full-time residents is the pickleball courts, the pickleball community. I'm trying to think. Well, and the other thing I was going to say to you is I'm pretty active in pickleball in Bergen County. You know, a lot of people have houses, you know, residents of Beach Haven come from Bergen County. And the number of people that come to me and want to rent homes down here once they hear how good the program is growing leaps and bounds. So just to close, more courts, better courts.
And also that what Ria said, that it's not just a sport for old people. And I think that that's a misconception. It's growing in leaps and bounds. The kids are learning this sport. My children learned it in high school. It was part of their gymnastic program, their phys ed program in high school. Was part of it was pickleball. My kids are all excellent pickleball players, and you know, their friends come down here and they all go and play. And I'm talking about 30, you know, 25 to 35-year-olds. So I just don't want it to become, well, it's a thing for old people, because it's not. It's for everybody.
Yeah, just one last thing. I'm a tennis player and a pickleball player. So this isn't a pickleball against tennis, but Beth and I ride our bicycles by the tennis courts every single day. And every single day, at least 40% of the courts are empty. And this is in prime time, you know, 8 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, we go down to the pickleball courts and there are 40 people there hanging out, ready to play. And, you know, I think that if you can't figure out a way to get the budget to expand the courts in Nelson, you should revisit using the western section of courts for pickleball only.
Okay. Thank you, Doug and Beth. Thank you so much. All right, thank you everyone for being so patient. I'm working my way through here. We have 2 left, so we're almost there. Ross. Ross, if you can hear me, try to help me get you unmuted. I'm trying. No, my button's not working. Okay, Ross, I'm going to come back to you. Okay, I apologize. Chris Rutherford. Go ahead, Chris, state your name and address.
Hey, I'm Chris Rutherford. I live at 444 Center Street in Beach Haven. I just have 2 statements listening to the comments from the people who play, and it sounds like it's a really great sport. I do not play. But as a citizen in Beach Haven here and concerned about the injuries that have been sustained on the courts, if this is a public place that people are being injured at, what might the implications be to the town because of these injuries that these people are sustaining? If it's that significant, maybe these courts unfortunately might need to be closed for a time until they can actually be repaired. My other statement that I'd like to make is that as such a large group that the pickleball people have, what are they willing to bring to the town, maybe in a financial gift or something, to be able to help us, you know, town want to be able to invest such a large amount of our taxpayer dollars to something like this? And then potentially also, as Councilwoman Baumiller has said, and a couple others, about the money that we would actually have to borrow and then pay back. So those are my 2 statements I have.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for your time.
Ross Felton, are you still there, Ross? Can you help me get you unmuted? Oh, there we go. Ross? Ross, can you hear me? Ross Felton? Andy Jones, you're my last one, Andy. Go ahead, say your address.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, go ahead.
I am Andy Jones. I am not a Beach Haven resident. I live in Township, 8 Cottage Court, and I'm a USA Pickleball ambassador. I'm a USA Pickleball certified ref and trainer. And I do want to say the first thing we teach referees is to be fair and reasonable. And I do want to say, whether or not you have a season pass, a daily pass, or a weekly pass, it shouldn't be that they don't get to sign up first. The Beach Haven residents get to sign up first. I do not think that's fair and reasonable. We all have paid money to play. This is not a private club. It's a public park for all from near and far. They come from Tuckertown. They come from Harvey Cedars. They come from all over. So all I'm asking is to be fair and reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. All right, Jamie and Dan and Nancy, is there anything you'd like to add to this before we move on? I know we're not going to make a decision today.
I have nothing to add. I heard most of the comments. I might want to get a transcript. It was kind of difficult to hear some of the comments.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes. Jamie?
Thanks.
No, just in, to comment on, this is a good time to borrow money. At the previous July meeting, we had almost a 2-hour discussion on the capital budget, and we significantly brought it down to a number that our CFO was comfortable with. So moving forward, to borrow an additional amount of money, again, this would not necessarily be what our financial officer is recommending. So it's not about just, just putting a little bit more money in it. It's about borrowing what our CFO is recommending to do.
Dan, anything you'd like to add?
I just want more information from Frank on what it would cost, how big it would have to be to reorient them, and how we go from there. I mean, I said at the previous discussion, I am not for taking land away from the kids to play. As somebody said before, the field is in a terrible state of disrepair, which is actually something I've discussed before about getting new sod, getting irrigated, something that's safe for the kids to play on. At the end of the last discussion that we had with this, I think we all agreed that the next recreational expenditure that we laid out was going to be for the benefit of the kids. So it's, well, I agree with the resurfacing. I don't like the idea of taking a safe place for children to play away. So it's, I'm struggling with that. I mean, I've heard all the conversation. I've heard everything. I see Mrs. Jones shaking her head no at me. And I empathize with everything. I truly do. But it's, if their kids aren't playing on it, that's our fault as a town. We're letting the kids down. So I'm trying to keep that in mind.
Okay, so Frank, while I have you here still on the call with me, I want to make the council aware of 2 other items in the capital budget that we need to be discussed before we move to introduce a bond ordinance. And one of those projects is the Public Works Garage, which was devastated in Sandy, and the last bit of large infrastructure that we need to rebuild since Sandy. And we are expecting to accept bids for those next week. And you are concerned that we might need to be also considering appropriating some additional funds to even award the contract. Is that right?
Yes.
But we're not sure how much that might be. There's a possibility we might not, because we had the budget where we wanted it, and now the pickleball issue has come up, and this possibly has come up. what are your real true thoughts about awarding this contract for this public works garage that's been on hold since Sandy?
Well, I'm hearing rumors of all kinds of numbers, and some of the numbers I'm hearing are that it will be within the budget we have.
Our budget appropriation right now is what, 1.2 million?
We have 1.2 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, that's what we have appropriated.
I believe that's what we have available. So we will know. I believe did I say the bids were being taken September 9th, if I'm correct? And if the bids come in appropriately, we'll be awarding them on at your meeting on the 14th. If for some reason they come in higher, we have to look at what we want to do to appropriate additional funds.
Okay.
So we'll have an answer on September 9th.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone is aware that we have other things on the table that might change what our ability to be flexible here. Give me just a second. All right, Frank, I'm going to switch my discussion over to Chris Carson. If you need to leave the meeting, you can, okay?
I'm fine. I'll stick around.
All right, Chris Carson, are you there? I'm trying to unmute you. Chris, can you hear me? Chris Carson, can you hear me? Okay. I know that Chris wanted to discuss this piece of equipment with the council before we moved on, so just give me a second. Chris Carson, can you hear me? All right, I don't have any other items for discussion. Nancy, do you have anything else for general discussion? Okay, and we'll open the floor for public comment. If there's any member of the public that would like to speak on any topic, please raise your hand and I will call on you. I see you, Aliki. All right, let me work on unmuting you. There you are.
Thank you.
All right, state your name and address again. So we've got you on the record.
Gotcha. Aliki Caceres, 512 North Beach Avenue in Beach Haven. I do have one question, and I don't want you to think I'm a smart aleck or anything, but where did they get the money to put the new tennis courts in last year? Was that borrowed money?
Yes, the tennis and pickleball appropriation was all one line item in last year's capital budget. It was $295,000 altogether, and a portion of that was allocated to the tennis court project, and the remainder is still allocated for the pickleball project. So the $65,000 that we say we already have was allocated in last year's capital budget and is still waiting to be used. So that is already available.
Wow. Okay. So
we're considering how much we can get accomplished with that amount. And if we have to, we're discussing whether we should appropriate more. And that's what we're talking about today, because we're about to start talking about this year's capital budget, which we will borrow. What will that encompass? Make sense?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else in the public wish to speak? All right, let me see here. Thank you guys for being so patient with me. Mary Claire, are you still on this call? Do you want to? Here. Mary Claire, are you able to unmute on the Zoom and speak? I think she's got Chris with her. Okay. All right, guys, I think that's all I have. I don't see any other public comment. Dan, did you want to speak? Oh, here we go.
Me?
Yeah, no, I saw Dan Roberts put your hand up. Were you trying to speak or anything? No, okay. All right. All right, Mary Claire and Chris, are you there?
Sherry, can you hear me?
Turn off your Zoom.
Sherry, can you hear me?
That's much better. Okay, do we have Chris with you?
I do. Chris is right next to me. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey,
This
Sherry.
is Chris Carson is the Superintendent of Public Works. He would also like to readdress an item that was discussed at the last meeting that we considered for the capital budget. Chris, that request was for what kind of equipment?
For a front end loader.
A front end loader with the equivalent cost of how much? What do you think that would cost?
$190,000.
$190,000. I know this was discussed at the last meeting and the council decided not to put this on as a need. So let's hear some of the concerns you have for the council to reconsider. Go ahead.
Well, I know Jamie's big consideration was because we don't have the new building built, but I mean, we can keep it in the mechanic shop at night, on weekends when we're not, don't have anything in there. And I mean, I've been looking at the beach and we're going to need a rental loader all winter, which is probably be 15, 20 grand.
You say that
we
because of the
have to go to field bid to do that because we're over the threshold for the year.
Are you saying that because there's excessive erosion on the ocean front right now, that's why?
Yeah, I mean, to keep up on the, the beach, we're going to have to use it all winter, and you can only use it like every other week because you got to work around the tides and all that. So if you rent it, I mean, you're kind of throwing money away.
I wonder if there's a way that we could break the purchase down and make payments over a course of years than making a full expenditure at $190,000 in one shot.
I don't know.
Are we buying it off a contract or do we have to bid it?
It'd be off a contract, the educational contract.
Dan and Jamie, is that something you would consider if we were able to break the payments down over the course of years rather than adding another big lump, $190,000 for beach equipment?
Well, the problem with that, it's a piece of equipment in a salt air environment. So you're going to be, I mean, as soon as you pull into this area, the value of it is going to diminish and the maintenance begins. So I don't know necessarily if financing something like that over multiple years is the best option because of the overall maintenance that this front loader would have. I'm just not comfortable going over substantially what our CFO has recommended that we do. And I mean, you have to remember, we are in a pandemic right now. I mean, there's people that are having problems paying taxes and paying their bills. So I don't feel comfortable going over this and then asking on the backs of the taxpayers in the future. For where we are right now, I think we need to stick with the budget that we have.
Chris, is there anything you'd like to add? Do you know if Steve Letts, our mechanic, is able to maintain this equipment in-house, or is this a piece of equipment we'd have to have fixed to it with a contractor?
No, we'd probably maintain it in-house, I mean, for the most part. I mean, the maintenance on this will be, the equipment we have now, the John Deere tractors aren't really made to push sand on the beach. I mean, so we have a lot of maintenance on them. And they're getting older. I mean, one's a 2003, one's a 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way I look at it, the beach is our biggest asset. That's why most people come down here, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, we've never had one before though. So who else has one?
When I first started working here, we had a bulldozer and a loader, and that's what you need to maintain a beach.
Okay, and they're just, we don't have them any longer? What happened to them?
I guess previous superintendents didn't feel they needed them. or you know, previous councils.
So we sold them, or what? Where are they?
I mean, they've been gone for years. I mean, I guess they, you know, they got old and they auctioned them off probably.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've been trying to keep up with these John Deeres, and they're just not doing it. I mean, to maintain a beach properly, you need a bulldozer and you need a loader, and the loader is the more versatile one of the two. That's why I picked that one.
Just want the council to be careful here because, I mean, this is always a discussion about needs and wants. And we have a superintendent saying that this is a need. Keep that in mind.
But I want to look at the other options. I mean, there has to be other options than just buying a front loader. What anyone else on the island out of the 5 municipalities have them? Who has them? I mean,
they all have them, but they all, when you need them, they're all using them. That's the trouble. I mean, with shared services.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but if we're looking at all winter here, I mean, they're
well,
not
they do the same thing with theirs all winter.
We're all moving sand all winter long. So our last capital budget number was $755,000 after our grant. If this was reconsidered, you'd be at $945,000 if you've reconsidered the loader.
Even if we spread out the payments?
No, that would be if you just appropriated the full 190.
Right. What if we finance it, you know, spread the payments like you were talking about? What would that do to the budget?
I know there for a while, Sherry Bowler was using Fulton to spread the payments over, you know, a 3-year period or a 4-year period. We'd have to talk to her to see if she felt that was beneficial to do. Sometimes she just would prefer to allocate it all at once. I don't know.
I know there's $50,000 in the budget for beach restoration in the old capital ordinance. I mean, we could probably use that to go towards it.
You might be able to put that $50,000 toward it.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to be towards I'm renting one over the winter. Like I say, it's $15,000-$20,000 a year. I mean, 10 years will pay for itself, and a machine like that probably lasts 25, 30 years if you take care of it.
Okay. Jamie and Dan, is this a discussion that we want to continue at our next meeting? It sounds like we still have a lot of fact finding to do.
Now let's talk to Sherry.
Need to discuss this longer.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to find out if we can spread the payments out over time, kind of defray it a little bit. You know, as he said, in 10 years, you could have bought a new one renting for 10 years. You know, find out, you know, I have some machines that are, you know, my forklifts, they don't go on the beach, and they're rusting away. One is 16 years old. So, I mean, the timeline is there to recover your investment, but, you know, I don't want to, you know, we worked so hard last time to keep the budget finally where our CFO likes it, and I don't want to undo progress. If we can spread it out a little bit, I think we need some more information from her, or if there's other unused appropriations in prior year's budgets that we can probably utilize.
Chris, what do you think the useful life of this piece of equipment would be?
At least 20 years.
20 years? And we can maintenance in-house. That's a plus.
Yeah. I mean, we do most of the work on the tractors, except for the real, you know, the electronic work and stuff like that. I mean, we got to farm out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is it tracked or is it wheeled?
It's wheeled. And that's another trouble with renting them is you can't get, I mean, you have to have a special tire to go on the beach, and the ones we rent are street tires, and they don't really work that good.
Okay. Jamie, anything else you want to discuss with Chris?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
May I make a comment?
Go ahead, Nancy.
I mean, I think we need to, you know, research it out and look at the, you know, the cost benefits. But our beaches are probably our most important commodity. It's why people pay the big bucks to come here. So, and I know how difficult it's been with the erosion. So I think we should really seriously consider this and look at the cost benefits and come up with a decision.
Okay, and I hope at the next meeting too to have Sherry Bowler on the line to talk about her comfort level if we do need to make some modifications to the budget. So let's work on that as well. Okay, so I'd like to try to wrap up the public comment here. I do have one person with their hand up. Rhea, did you have another comment that you'd like to make? Get you unmuted here. Go ahead, Rhea.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I would like to just address Dan.
This is Rhea Flynn. Hold on, Rhea Flynn, state your address.
Oh, 1610 South Bay Avenue, Beach Haven.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to address Dan. I understand your concerns, and having been a phys ed teacher and been in recreation my life, I understand not wanting to lose any space for the kids. But I do think that the minimum, according to some of our calculations, the most that we would need to take from that side would be 3 or 4 feet at the most. So we could still develop that area for kids in a better way than it's being used right now. And I would love to be involved in trying to develop programs for our young kids on the island so that they do have things to do. So I don't think we're in conflict about that. And I think we can really work something out to give the kids an opportunity to be involved in more.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. My question to you, 3 or 4 more feet, does that include 4 to 6 more courts?
That includes the 3 courts across. That would include 3 courts across.
That was the plan that we had last year, to leave them the way they are, and then, but we were talking about reordering.
Well, you know, Lynn has all of the statistics and dimensions, but I don't think it would impinge upon the field that much that it would make a difference. And I do think that we can work something out. And I would love to see something with that field so the kids do have something to do, because that's a big thing for me too. So I agree with you on that. But I think we could work around it and make everybody happy.
Thank you, Rhea. Andy Jones, one other thing to add for you? Let's get you unmuted here. Hold on.
All right.
Yep. Hold on. There you go. Go ahead.
Hi. The last thing I wanted to say is I mentioned this.
Name and address for the record.
Andy Jones, 8 Cottage Court, Haven Beach.
Go ahead.
I did mention last year at one of the meetings that I would be more than happy to run a juniors program if we got new courts, and we have many people that would help with that program. And I do not think it's going to take that much more to add on 3 more courts if you reverse the courts, but that's out of my hands. But honestly, we would help with the kids. We volunteered last year. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Andy. All right, Lynn Van Name. Lynn, there you go.
815 North Atlantic.
Yes.
Seems like a lot's talking about spending money. How about you think of ways you can make money? Do you know that Beach Haven has the lowest beach badge prices on the whole island? Either side of Beach Haven's at $10 for the day. We could double ours and be the same as everybody all the way up, including ship bottoms, $10, all the way up to Surf City. We could get rid of Free Wednesday, because Free Wednesday costs the borough money because they don't have income, and yet Public Works still works, lifeguards still work, so we lose money.
But we actually break even because we don't keep recreation attendance that day, and it equals out.
But you're not collecting money on the beach.
No, and we're not staffing checkers either, which equals out on a Wednesday because we don't make a lot of revenue on Wednesdays either.
All right. How about
5,000 a day for badge checkers, and we didn't bring that much in on Wednesdays for dailies.
All right, but look at the price of the badges and compare it to all the other towns on the island.
I don't know if those prices are going to maintain. They may be COVID prices. Township only went to a $10 daily because of COVID. So we're going to have to really watch and see what next summer's beach badge prices look like. Those are definitely related to COVID.
All I'm saying is keep in mind, maybe there's ways to make money to buy a front end loader, pickleball, things that the town needs without borrowing money.
Thanks, Lynn. All right, is there any other member of the public that would like to speak before I close up the meeting, please? Please raise an electronic hand. All right, at this time, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting and take final remarks from council. Dan?
The only thing I have to say is I hope everybody in Louisiana is safe and sound after the Hurricane Laura came in. It looked like a pretty rough one. And other than that, I think it's a pretty long, productive meeting, so I'm going to keep it short.
Thanks, Dan. Jamie?
Yeah, echoing what Dan has said. And also just thank you everyone for attending this meeting and giving your opinions. The capital budget is probably my least favorite time of the year. Making these decisions doesn't weigh well with me, and it's something that I look into, that I research, and that I listen to the people in the borough, the professionals, Frank and Sherry and our CFO, Sherry Bowler. It's not something that I take lightly, but it's something that weighs heavy on me, and I am listening to everyone, and I appreciate your passion, and just know that the capital budget is just not an easy thing for me at all. And just moving forward with the last 2 weeks of summer, I wish everybody, a healthy and happy end of summer, and also good luck to the parents that are trying to get back to school, whether it be virtual or in person. I wish everyone, all the parents out there, even the grandparents that are helping out as well, the best of luck.
Thank you. Nancy, some final remarks?
Yeah, not much. It's been a difficult meeting for me. I apologize for not being visible. I had a doctor's appointment, which was made over a year ago. Basically, thanks everybody for the comments. I really would like to see this pickleball thing go forward, and I'm trying to think of anything we can do. If we need to raise extra money or we can find it somewhere else in the budget, it would be helpful. But I know how passionate you pickleball players are. I wish I had more time to play pickleball, and I think it's a great activity for young kids as well. A lot of schools offer it as a sport, and I think it would be great if we could get those courts fixed up and get the kids involved, and that's where I'm coming from. But anyway, thank you all for your comments. That's it.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Take care.